Hello all the CA Foundation students. Hope your preparations are going very good. In today's video, we are going to solve some very important questions from rectification of errors. I assure within less than 1 hour, we are going to cover entire rectification, and this video can be used for your last minute revision. And also remember, the rectification of errors weightage is 10 marks. So let us get started. Coming to rectification of errors, as we are aware that rectification can be done in 3 stages. Stage number 1 is before preparation of trial balance, means you are identifying the errors even before the trial balance is prepared. And the second one being after preparation of trial balance, means your mistakes are already gone to trial balance with the name called as suspense, and then we are identifying the errors and we are rectifying them. And in second case we will have something called as a suspense account, and from exam perspective also second case is very important. Next, coming to the last case, that is errors that are corrected in next accounting period. This and this are very important from exam perspective, and here we are going to have something called as P&L adjustment account sums. Okay, so from exam perspective you are going to focus on second and the third area, and in today's video we are solving around 10 questions for your quick revision. Some only very less questions on first area. I focused on second and third area. So let us understand the questions. Okay, coming to the first question. Sir, this only question that I'm doing before trial balance, only one question I'm doing from rectification before trial balance. Let us see what are the errors. The following errors were found in the books of Prasad and Sons. Give the necessary entries to correct them before preparation of trial balance. Guys, in this case there is no suspense, nothing, because we have not yet prepared trial balance. And one more thing, at this stage sometimes it is possible to write a journal entry, and sometimes it's a one-sided error for which we just have to write a statement. Passing a journal entry is not possible. Okay, what is the first error? 500 paid for machinery purchase has been charged to purchases account. When you purchase a machinery being an asset, machinery account should be debited, whereas which account you have debited? Purchases account. So what is by mistake debited? Purchases should be cancelled by crediting, and machinery account should be debited. So the rectification entry will be machinery account debit to purchases account. How much will be the amount? The amount will be 500. Okay, wonderful, superb. Next, come to the second one. Coming to the second one, repairs paid on building were debited to building. Sir, repairs are in the nature of revenue expenditure which should be transferred to P&L with the name of repairs, but they are debiting it to building, means they are treating it as capital expenditure. Instead of debiting repairs, they are debiting building. So repairs has to be debited now, and building which was by mistake debited should be cancelled. So the rectification entry will be repairs account debit to building account. Guys, at this stage no concept of suspense and all that. How much is the amount? The amount is 50. Wonderful. Please come to the third one. Sir, coming to the third one, an amount of 100 withdrawn by the proprietor for personal use has been debited to trade expenses. Guys, everyone knows whenever any amount is withdrawn by the proprietor, it is called drawings. It should be debited to drawings. Which account they have debited? Trade expense. Which account is by mistake debited? That should be cancelled now. So trade expenses should be credited and your drawings account should be debited. So the rectification entry will be drawings account debit to trade expenses account. How much is the amount? The amount being 100. Okay, let us now see the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one, 100 paid for rent is debited to landlord. Whenever you pay any rent being an expenditure, rent account should be debited, but which account is debited here? Landlord account. So landlord account has to be cancelled by crediting and rent account should be debited. So the rectification entry will be rent account debit to landlord's personal account. How much is the amount? The amount being 100. Chalo, let's come to the fifth one. Salary 125 paid to clerk was debited to his personal account. Whenever you pay any salary, that's an expenditure. It should be debited to salary account, where it is debited to clerk's personal account. So it should be cancelled. So what we need to do now is salary should be debited. So we are debiting now, and clerk's personal account is by mistake debited. We are going to cancel that by crediting to clerk's personal account. How much is the amount? The amount is 125. Chalo. Only two more things are left out. We'll quickly see them. 100 received from Shah and Co. was wrongly entered as Shaw and Co. When you receive from Shah and Co., the entry will be bank account debit to Shah and Co. But instead of writing Shah and Co., they wrote Shaw and Co. So which account should have been credited is Shaw and Co. But which account is credited? Shaw and Co. So we are going to cancel Shaw and Co. and we are actually going to credit Shah and Co. So the entry will be Shaw and Co. account debit to Shah and Co. How much is the amount? The amount will be 100 once again. Okay, last one. What is the last one? 100 paid in cash for a typewriter was charged to office expense. Whenever you purchase a typewriter, being an asset, typewriter should be debited, but what have you debited? Office expenses. So it should be cancelled now by crediting, and a typewriter account has to be debited. The rectification entry will be typewriter account debit to office expenses account. How much is that? Amount is 700. Now let us get started with the second question. This second question is on the basis of rectification after trial balance. Whenever we are doing rectification after trial balance, we are going to have something called as suspense. If your trial balance does not tally because of the error. But sometimes it so happens that even if there is a mistake, your trial balance will tally, then we will not have anything called as suspense. Let us understand what is this case. Correct the following errors found in the books of Dutt. The trial balance was out by 493 excess credit, means it is having a debit balance of suspense, that is 493. The difference has been posted to suspense account. So we understand that suspense account is having a debit balance of 493. What is the first mistake that they have done? This is a rectification that we are doing after trial balance. What is the first rectification? An amount of 100 received from D Das on 31st December has been omitted to be entered in the cash book. Here two assumptions are possible. The answer is given on the basis that it's a complete omission, means the entry is only not recorded at all. When you receive any cash from D Das, what should be the entry? Cash account debit to D Das. They have not at all recorded. Since they have not recorded on both the sides, trial balance will tally, so there won't be anything called as suspense. Now we have to write an entry called cash account debit to D Das account. How much is the amount? Amount is 100. Next, coming to the second one, the total of written inwards book for December has been cashed short by 100. Return inward book in the sense it is sales return book. Sales returns will have debit balance. Is it taken more or is it taken less? It is taken less. So can I say your sales return are taken less by 100? So your trial balance will not tally. Which side it would be missing is on the debit side there will be a less of 100. That amount we will put to suspense. So suspense account will have a debit balance of 100. Now if we are correcting that mistake, whatever balance that is there in suspense 100 should be cancelled. So suspense account should be credited. Which account should be debited? Sales return has to be increased. Since sales returns will have debit balance, in order to increase that, we have to debit the sales return. Nothing but return inwards. So what becomes a rectification entry? Rectification entry will be return inwards account debit to suspense account. How much is the amount? amount is 100. Next, coming to the third one. What is the third one? The purchase of office table, that is nothing but furniture, has been passed through purchases daybook. When you purchase a furniture, it should be debited to furniture account. But which account have they debited? Purchases account. Which account should have been debited is furniture, but which account is debited is purchases. Purchases should be cancelled by crediting and furniture should be actually debited. So the rectification entry will be furniture account debit to purchases account. How much is the amount? Amount is 300. Now coming to the fourth one. What is a mistake that is done? 375 paid for wages to workmen for showcase that we have is part of your furniture has been debited to wages account. Whenever you purchase any showcase or you incur any expenditure on showcase which is part of your furniture, furniture account should be debited. Which account they have debited? Wages. So wages should be cancelled by crediting and furniture account should be debited. So furniture account debit to wages account. How much is the amount is 375. Next, coming to the fifth one. A purchase of 67 has been posted to trade payable account as 60. So what is done is when you purchase something on credit, entry will be purchases account debit to trade payable. Whereas in trade payable account, instead of taking 67, they have taken only 60. So since trade payable is taken less, can I say trade payable will have credit balance? Credit balance 7 is taken less. So your trial balance will not tally. On the credit side, 7 will be less. So we will put that to suspense. Can I say suspense will have a credit balance of 7. Now that we are rectifying that error, suspense account should be debited. And in order to increase the trade payable account has to be credited by 7. So what is the rectification entry? Rectification entry will be suspense account debit to trade payable. How much is that? It would be 7 and 7. Next, coming to the sixth one. What is the sixth one? A check for 200 received from PC Joshi has been dishonored. Whenever you receive a check from someone and that is dishonored, their account has to be debited. But was debited to which account? Allowances. So which account should have been debited is PC Joshi, but which account is debited is allowances. So allowances has to be cancelled and PC Joshi account has to be debited. So what is the rectification entry? PC Joshi account debit to allowances account. How much is the amount? Amount is 200. Next, coming to the seventh one. 1000 paid for purchase of motorcycle, but not for us. It is for Mr. Dutt. Can I say it is a drawing? Yes. Has been charged to miscellaneous expenses. You should have debited drawings, but you have debited miscellaneous expenses. So miscellaneous expenses have to be cancelled by crediting and a drawings account has to be debited. So what is the rectification entry? Drawings account debit to miscellaneous expenses. How much is the amount? Amount is 1000. Next, coming to the eighth one. Goods amounting to 100 has been returned by the customer. If the customer is returning, that will become sales return. It was taken into the inventory, but no entry is passed. Here also once again I want to assume that it is a complete omission. Whenever it is a sale, it is customer account debit to sales. Whenever it is a sales return, entry will be sales return account debit to customer. I'm assuming that it's a complete omission and I'm writing the entry now. Entry will be sales return account debit to customer account. How much is the amount? Amount is 100. Next, coming to the last one, the most important one. A sale of 200 to Singh and Co. Whenever you make a credit sale to someone, that is Singh and Co., his account has to be debited. But what they have done, they have wrongly credited to their account. Entry was made correctly in the sales book. So whenever you make a credit sale to someone, that is Singh and Co., entry should have been Singh and Co. account debit to sales. Sales was correctly done. Singh and Co. account should have been debited, but they have credited that. So here not one mistake is involved, two mistakes are involved. One is not debiting, trial balance will not tally. Again crediting, again it will not tally. So your trial balance will be less on the debit side. Once you have not debited, it will be less. Another time you have credited, again debit side will be less. Total trial balance debit side will be less by 400. We will put that amount to suspense account. So suspense is having a debit balance of 400. Now we need to correct. When you are correcting it, suspense account has to be cancelled, means suspense account has to be credited. Which account has to be debited? Singh and Co. Not by 200 but by 400, because once, in order to cancel the credit, we have to debit once, and actually we need to debit. For that we need to debit. So we need to debit Singh and Co. account not by 200 but by 400. So the rectification entry will be ninth one, Singh and Co. account debit to suspense account. How much? 400. Along with this, we can also understand how to prepare suspense account in this question. How much balance is there in suspense account? Suspense account balance is 493. So I can prepare a suspense account. It is debit balance, it is 2 balance brought down, it is 493. So wherever in your rectification there was suspense, you can post that. In second entry, there is something called as suspense. So in suspense account, by we are going to write by return inwards. How much is that? 100. Next, in third, fourth, next, in fifth, there is a suspense to trade payable. In suspense, it will be to trade payable. How much is that? 7. Next, 7th and 8th, no suspense. Coming to the 9th one, there is a suspense, that is Singh and Co. to suspense. In suspense, by Singh and Co. How much is it? 400. Now if you try to close suspense account got closed. That means we have successfully rectified all the errors which are done, that is after trial balance, and the suspense account is closed. Now let us get started with the third question. This third question is also rectification after trial balance, that is even before the financial statements are prepared, and after trial balance these errors are found out. Okay, on going through the trial balance of Ball Bearings Company Limited, you find that the debit balance is in excess, means debit side is more, so suspense is having credit balance of 150. This was credited to suspense, and on close scrutiny of the books of accounts, you notice to follow things. What is the first one? The total of debit side of expenses has been cashed in excess by 50. Debit side is more in the sense debit side is taken more, so trial balance will not tally. Debit side is more, suspense will have a credit balance of 50 because you have taken debit side more. Since you have taken expenses more, in order to reduce that, expenses has to be credited, and we know suspense is having a credit balance. In order to cancel that, we need to debit. So the rectification entry, the first rectification entry will be suspense account debit to expenses account. How much? 50. Next, coming to the second one. What is the second one? The sales account has been totaled in short by 100. The sales account has been totaled in short, means can I say sales are taken less? Yes, sales will have credit balance. When you take sales less, credit may something would be missing, trial balance will not tally. So which side it would be missing is on credit side, since you have taken sales less. So that credit side we are going to put it to suspense. Now that you have taken sales less, in order to increase the sales has to be credited, and as we know, Suspense is having credit balance. In order to cancel that, we need to debit. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit to sales. How much is suspense account debit to sales? How much is taken less? 100. Next, coming to the third one, supplier account has been overcashed. Supplier in the sense a trade payable. Trade payable will have credit balance. Credit side is taken more, so your trial balance will not tally. Which side amount will be missing is on debit side. Since you have taken credit side more, debit side will be missing. That we will put it to suspense. So suspense will have a debit balance. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense has to be cancelled by crediting, and trade payable has taken more. In order to reduce that, now trade payable has to be debited. So what is the rectification entry? Rectification entry will be trade payable account debit to suspense account. How much is the amount? 225. Next, please come to the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one, the sales returns of 100 from a party has not been posted to that account, though the party account is credited. See, whenever there is a sales return, the entry will be sales return account debit to debtors. What they have done here is debtors account they have credited, but what they have not debited is sales returns. Since they have not taken sales returns, which is debit balance, can I say trial balance will not tally? Which side it will be missing is on debit side. So suspense will have a debit balance of 100. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by crediting and sales returns account has to be debited. So the rectification entry will be sales returns account debit to suspense. Sales return account debit to suspense. How much is the amount? Amount is 100. Next, please come to the fifth one. Coming to the fifth one, a check of 500 issued to supplier. Whenever you make a payment to supplier, that is trade payable, entry will be trade payable account debit to bank. But it was wrongly debited to which account? Purchases. Whenever you make payment to trade payable, entry should be trade payable account debit to bank. So trade payable account should have been debited, but which account they have debited? Purchases. But trial balance will tally, there won't be anything in your suspense because they have debited, but they have debited to a wrong account. So now the rectification entry there will not be anything called as suspense. Which account should have been debited is trade payable, but which account is debited is purchases. Purchases will be cancelled by crediting and trade payable account will be debited. So the rectification entry will be trade payable account debit to purchases account. How much is the amount? Amount is 500. There won't be anything called as suspense because they have debited but to a wrong account. Next, please come to the last one. A credit sale of 50 has been credited to sales and also to trade receivables. Guys, whenever you make any sale on credit, entry will be debtors account debit to sales. So sales account should be credited. They have credited sales account. But a trade receivable, that is debtors account, should be debited. But instead of debiting, they have credited. So guys, there are two mistakes here. One is not debiting the trade receivable. Another is crediting the trade receivable. So your trial balance will not tally, not by 50, but by 100. On the debit side, trial balance will be less by 100. So we will put that amount to suspense account. So suspense will have a debit balance of 100. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by crediting. So suspense should be credited by 100. However, trade receivable account should be debited not by 50 but by 100. Why, sir, it is 100? One is to actually debit trade receivable by 50. Another is to cancel whatever by mistake you have credited. So 2 times a trade receivable account has to be debited, that is by 100. So the entry will be trade receivable account debit to suspense. It won't be 50, it will be 100. So trade receivable account debit to suspense account. How much will be the amount? So the amount will be not 50. The amount will be 100. Chalo. We have passed rectification entries for all the transactions, and that too we know we are doing rectification after trial balance before financial statements are prepared. What all are they asking? They are asking you to pass necessary journal entries. Are we done with journal entries? Yes. Next, they are asking how the profits will be impacted. Next, leave him about that. We will come back to how it will affect the profits. Let us see the third one. They are asking us to prepare a suspense account. Chalo, let us prepare a suspense account. Suspense account. Suspense account is having which balance? Suspense account is having a credit balance of how much? Credit balance of 150. So buy balance brought down will be 150. Next, first entry made is suspense account debit to expenses. It will be to expenses 50. Next, second one, suspense to sales. It will be to sales 100. Next, coming to the third one, trade payable to suspense. So in suspense, buy trade payable 225. Next, coming to the fourth one, sales returns account debit to suspense. In suspense account, buy sales returns. How much is the amount? 100. Next, coming to the fifth one, trade payable to purchases. So there is no suspense. Coming to the sixth one, trade receivable to suspense. In suspense account, buy trade receivable. How much is it? 100. So if you check the balance, it is 100, 200, 425, 425, 475, 575 minus 150. How much is the balance? The balance is 425. To balance carried down. Sir, usually suspense should become 0, no? After rectifying the errors. Since the suspense is not becoming 0, that means we have not found all the errors. We could not trace all the errors. There are some more mistakes. But based on whatever information that is given, we have prepared a suspense account. So we have answered two questions. That is passing journal entries. Another is preparing suspense account. Let us quickly understand how your profits will be impacted. Show how they affect the profits. All these errors, whatever you have rectified, how it is going to impact your profits. Let us see that. Okay, let us write here the answer for the second one. If profit is increasing, we will write it here. If profit is decreasing, we will write it here. Okay, chalo. Let's see. First one is expenses. Let's see first one. The total debit side of expenses has casted excess. Means have you taken expenses more? Yes. Since you have taken expenses more, now we are reducing the expenses. If expenses reduce, profit will increase. How much? By how much profit will increase? Profit will increase by 50. Next, come to the second transaction. Coming to the second transaction, sales has been totaled short by 100. Since sales is taken less, now we are fulfilling that. We are taking normal full sales. Sales will be increased. When the sales are increased, your profits will also increase. So once again 100 profit will increase. Next, coming to the third one, supplier account has no impact on profit. Coming to the fourth one, sales return is not taken. Sales return is not taken at all. Sir, because of sales, profits will increase. Because of sales returns, profit should decrease. But the sales return of 100 from a party has not been posted to that account. Since sales return has not taken, now we are taking sales returns. Your profits should decrease. Your profits should decrease by how much? Your profits should decrease by 100. Next, coming to the fifth one. A check of 500 issued to suppliers has been wrongly debited to purchase. Oh, this has an impact on your profit because it is unnecessarily taken as purchase. Since you have unnecessarily taken as a purchase, your profits was less. Now that you are cancelling the purchases, will your profit increase? Yes, your profit will increase by 500. Okay, next, the last one. A credit sale of 50 has been credited to sales but also trade receivable. Okay, sales is normally taken since there is a mistake in trade receivable, there is no impact on profits. So this is a net impact. There are 2 transactions which will not have any impact, and other 4 transactions, in 3 cases it will increase. So profit will increase by total how much? 600, 650. It will increase total by 650, and it will decrease by how much? 100. What is the net impact? The net impact is 550. Profits will increase. This is the answer for this question. Now let us understand the 4th question from rectification of errors. Once again, this rectification is after trial balance. So let us understand this question. The trial balance of Mr. W and H failed to agree, and there is a difference of 20,570 which is being put to suspense account, and after investigation you found these reasons. What is the first one? Purchase returns daybook. Purchase return is in the sense credit balance has been correctly entered and totaled, but you did totaling properly, but you have not posted that to the ledger. Once you don't post that to the ledger, it won't enter the trial balance. So in the trial balance on the credit side, purchase returns is missing. So trial balance will not tally on the credit side by an amount of 6160, and we will put that amount to suspense. So suspense is having a credit balance of 6160. Now that we are rectifying this error, suspense account should be debited and purchase returns has to be credited. So the rectification entry will be, first rectification entry will be suspense account debit to purchase returns account. How much is the amount? 6160, 6160. Chalo, let's go to the second one. Coming to the second one, what is the second one? Discount received. Discount received is which balance? Credit balance has been debited to discount allowed. Guys, there are 2 mistakes in this. Not taking discount received credit balance is one mistake. Taking discount allowed more, that is debit balance, is another mistake. So once you have not taken on the credit side, another time again you have taken on the debit side. So credit side totally will be missing by not 1320, it will be missing by 2640. Credit side will be less by 2640. That amount will be put it to suspense. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense account, whatever credit balance is there, 2640, that will be debited, and we have to credit discount received, and we have to cancel the discount allowed which is by mistake debited. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit 2640 to discount received 1320 to discount allowed. So whatever discount allowed was by mistake debited, that should be cancelled. So that should be 1320. This becomes a rectification entry. Let's get into the third one. What is the third one? Sales account has been under added. When sales is taken less, sales is credit balance. In trial balance, you take sales less. Your trial balance may credit side will be less by 10,000. That we will put it to suspense. So suspense will have a credit balance of 10,000. Now that we are rectifying the suspense account has to be debited, and in order to increase the sales, we have to credit the sales. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit to sales. Amount is 10,000. Let us write suspense account debit to sales. Amount is 10,000. Chalo. Let's get into the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one. What is the fourth one? A credit sale of 1470. Whenever you make a credit sale, customer account should be debited. Okay, they have debited, but the customer account, instead of taking 1470, they have taken how much? 1740. So can I say they have taken more on the debit side? How much more have they taken? 270 they have taken more. Since they have taken 270 more on the debit side, trial balance will not tally. Trial balance credit side will be less by 270, which we will put it to suspense. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense account has to be debited, and since customer account it is taken more, in order to decrease now, we have to credit. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit to customer. Suspense account debit to customer. How much would that be? 270. 270. Chalo. Let's come to the fifth one. Coming to the fifth one, a vehicle that is an asset brought originally for 7,000 4 years ago. It is depreciated to how much? 1200. So how much is today's return on value? 1200. 1200 asset is sold for 1500. When you sell 1200 asset for 1500, entry will be bank account debit 1500 to asset 1200 to profit 300. What have they done? No entries other than in the bank account has been passed. So they should have passed an entry bank account debit to asset to profit. Bank account they posted, but they have not taken on the credit side. So when they don't take a 1500 on the credit side, trial balance credit side will be less by 1500. We'll put that amount to suspense. So suspense is having a balance of 1500. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be debited by 1500 and we have to actually credit to asset 1200 and to profit on sale of asset, that is 300. So the rectification error will be, rectification entry will be suspense account debit 1500 to asset. How much asset is going out? To 1200 to profit on sale. How much is profit on sale? 300. Obviously when you sell 1200 asset for 1500, 300 will be profit. Next, coming to the sixth one, an accrual of 560 for telephone charges has been completely omitted. It is not partial omission, it is complete omission. That means they have not recorded on the debit side and they have not recorded on the credit side. So whenever telephone charges are accrued but not paid, we call that as outstanding. And outstanding expenses is the liability which will have credit balance. And as we know, as per accrual concept, if you pay or you don't pay, expenses have to be debited. So the entry will be telephone charges being an expense will be debited and outstanding telephone charges being a liability, it will be credited. So the entry will be telephone charges account debit to outstanding telephone charges. How much is the amount? The amount is 560. Next, let's come to the seventh one. Sir, the seventh one is the most important one, wherein majority of the students will have lot of doubts in this. How much is a bad debts? A bad debts of 1560 has not been written off, and the provision doubtful debts should be maintained at 10% of trade receivables, which are shown in the trial balance at 23,390. And how much is the provision for bad debts balance? 2,320. Let us leave about how much is the balance in provision for bad debts. Let us first understand how much trade receivable is correct amount, because whatever is given in trial balance is 23,390, but we have done a lot of rectifications, so trade receivable balance will change. First let us calculate the current amount of trade receivables. How much is the trade receivables as per trial balance? As per trial balance, trade receivable is 23,390. And if you remember guys, in one of the entry, that is fourth entry, mein customer account is credited by 270. That is what trade receivable. When trade receivable is credited by 270, can I say trade receivable will decrease minus rectification. How much rectification amount is done? 270. And along with this 270, how much has to be reduced is 270. Along with this 270, we also have bad debts. How much are the bad debts? 1560. And we know because of bad debts, trade receivable will reduce. So minus bad debts. How much? 1,560. So the correct trade receivable amount will be 23,390 minus 270 minus 1560. It will be 21,560. On this you have to maintain 10%. But let us see how much provision do we have. How much provision we had is 2,320. Let us try preparing a provision for bad debts account. Provision for bad debts account. Can I say Buy balance brought down. How much is buy balance brought down? That is already there, 2320. And bad debts will be written off against provision for bad debts, so it will be 2 bad debts. How much is bad debts amount? 1560. Sir, bad debts you have already reduced from debtors. Now why are you again reducing here? Because we are under double entry. It will be reduced from trade receivable also. It will be adjusted from provision also. 2320 minus 1560 we have adjusted, but they are saying that a closing provision to balance carried down shall be equal to 21560 into 10%. That is nothing but 2156. So guys, so we had an opening balance of 2320. We adjusted 1560. The balance will be less, but we want to maintain 2156. That means we need to create more. How much more we need to create in this year? Create in this year should be 1396. So we need to here pass entries for two things. One is for creating the provision, another is to write off the bad debts. So let us write the entries for both the things. First entry will be bad debts account debit to trade receivables. Next, how much is the bad debts? Bad debts is 1560. Next, obviously these bad debts will be transferred to provision for bad debts. So second entry will be provision for bad debts account debit to bad debts. How much? 1560 and 1560. Next, and apart from this, we have to create a provision. How much provision are we supposed to create? We are supposed to create a provision of 1396. So for creating provision, the entry will be P&L account debit to provision for bad debts. How much we need to create is 1396 and 1396. So these are the entries for the 7th point. Chalo. Now let us come to the 8th one. Coming to the 8th one, tools brought for how much? Tools brought for 1200 has been debited to purchases. When you purchase tools, being an asset, tools have to be debited. But what have they debited? Purchases. Shall we rectify that? Yes. What should have been debited? Tools. But what is debited? Purchases. So whatever is by mistake debited should be cancelled. So purchases has to be cancelled and the tools have to be debited. So the rectification entry will be 8th one, tools account debit to purchases account. How much is the amount? The amount being 1200. Amount being 1200. Let's come to the last one. Coming to the last one, the proprietor has withdrawn for personal use goods worth 1960. No entry is made. Whenever proprietor withdraws some amount, it will be called as drawings. And I will assume here that it is complete omission. When you assume it is complete omission, no entry is passed at all. It is not like one side it is omitted. It is not partial omission, it is complete omission. We need to write the entry now. So drawings have to be debited, and when you withdraw in goods, can I say purchases will reduce. In order to reduce the purchases has to be credited. So the rectification entry will be 9th one, drawings account debit to purchases account. How much is drawings? That is 1960 and 1960. Okay guys, now let us solve question number 5 from rectification of errors. And this is once again rectification after trial balance, and this particular question is from RTP, that is September 2025. Okay, what are they asking? Write out the journal entries to rectify the following errors, and they have clearly mentioned we need to use something called suspense account. Okay, let us understand. Come to the first one. Goods of value 15,000 returned by Mr. Aman. Means customer is returning, so it would become sales return, but it was entered in sales day book. Instead of entering in sales return book, they entered in sales book, and therefore Therefrom, it was posted to credit of his account. So guys, what is the entry for sales returns? Sales returns account debit to customer. So customer account, his account is properly credited, but they would have debited the sales return, but they have put it in sales account. Sales will have credit balance, sales returns will have debit balance. So they, instead of debiting sales return, they have credited sales. Trial balance will not tally. Debit side may 15,000 will not miss, 30,000 will be missing, because once you have not taken on debit side, and second, you have taken more sales on the credit side, so suspense will have a debit balance. That is, trial balance is not tallying on the debit side by 30,000. Suspense will have a debit balance of 30,000. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by crediting, and sales should be cancelled by debiting, and sales return has to be actually debited. So the rectification entry will be sales return account debit 15,000. Sales should be cancelled, which is by mistake credited, that is sales should be debited by 15,000. Next, to suspense account. How much will be in suspense? 30,000, which is there on the suspense, should be cancelled by crediting. Good. Next, come to the second one. An amount of 7,500 entered in sales return book has been posted to debit of Mr. Ashish. Guys, whenever there is a sales return, customer account, what is the entry for sales returns? Sales returns account debit to Ashish. But instead of crediting the account, they have debited the account. Once again, your trial balance will not tally on the credit side, not by 7,500 but by 15,000. Why 15,000 is because once you have not taken on the credit side, and another is you have taken more on the debit side. So trial balance credit side 15,000 will be missing, which we will put it to suspense. So suspense is having a credit balance of 15,000. That should be cancelled by debiting, and Ashish account should be credited not by 7,500 but by 15,000, because once we have to actually credit, for that we are going to credit 7,500 and we need to cancel what was by mistake debited. For that we are going to credit. So we are going to credit Ashish account not by 7,500 but by 15,000. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit 15,000 to Ashish account. How much? 15,000. Chalo, come to the third one. Coming to the third one, the total of discount allowed. Guys, discount allowed in the sense debit balance in the cash book for the month June 2025 amounting to 27,500 was not posted, though it was correctly recorded in debtors. So can I say it is one-sided error? It is not taken in discount allowed. Discount allowed will usually have debit balance. In the debit balance, since they have not taken, trial balance mein debit will be less by 27,500, which we will put it to suspense. So suspense will have a debit balance of 27,500. Now that we are cancelling, suspense should be credited and we need to actually debit discount allowed. That we are going to debit now. So the rectification entry will be discount allowed account debit to suspense account. How much will be the amount? 27,500. 27,500. Chalo, come to the fourth one. Fourth one, bad debts amounting to 8,000 were written off. Bad debts being debit balance, they have written off but was not posted to bad debts account. When it is not posted to bad debts account, in trial balance debit side you have not taken 8,000. So trial balance will not tally. On debit side 8,000 will be missing. That 8,000 will be put to suspense. So suspense is having a debit balance of 8,000. Now that we are rectifying it, suspense should be cancelled and bad debts account should be debited. Entry will be bad debts account debit to suspense account. How much will be the amount? 8,000. Chalo, come to the fifth one. Next one. A sale of, this is very important guys, a sale of 30,000 made to Kavya was correctly entered in sales day book but was wrongly posted to debit of Adya as 3,000. Guys, this kind of adjustments are very tricky. Please concentrate. Whenever you make a credit sale to Kavya, entry will be Kavya account debit to sales. Instead of debiting Kavya, sales account was correctly done, but Kavya account, instead of debiting, they have debited to Adya. And that is not only the mistake. The amount also, instead of taking 30,000, they have taken 3,000. So one mistake is that debit side, instead of 30,000, they have taken 3,000. So debit side will be less by 27,000, which we will put it to suspense. So suspense will have a debit balance of 27,000. Okay. Now we need to actually debit whose account? Kavya account. By how much? 30,000. So the rectification entry will be Kavya account debit 30,000. Suspense we need to cancel by crediting to suspense 27,000, and whatever by mistake you have debited Adya account by 3,000, that also should be cancelled by crediting it. So the rectification entry will be Kavya account shall be debited by 30,000 to suspense account. How much? 27,000 to Adya account. How much? 3,000. Chalo, let's get into the next one. The last one is the most simplest one. Supplier account. Supplier means trade payable. Has been overcashed. It is taken more. By how much? 225. When you take more on the credit side of trial balance debit side will be less by 225. That we will put to suspense. So suspense will have a debit balance of 225. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by crediting. And in order to reduce now, the supplier account should be debited. So the rectification entry will be supplier account debit to suspense account. How much? 225. Hope this question was clear for all of you. Okay guys, now let us discuss question number 6 from rectification of errors. This is once again rectification after trial balance by using something called as suspense account. Okay, let us get started. What is the first rectification? The sales book has been totaled 100 undercashed. Undercasting in the sense it is taken less. Which side is it taken less? Sales. Credit side it is taken less. So your trial balance will not tally. On the credit side by 100. We will put that to suspense. So suspense will have a credit balance of 100. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by debiting, and in order to increase the sales, we need to credit the sales. So sales account has to be credited. So rectification entry will be suspense account debit to sales account. How much? 100. Okay. Coming to the second one. Goods worth 150 returned by Green and Co. So it is a sales returns, has not been recorded anywhere. I will assume that it is a complete omission. Whenever it's a complete omission, your trial balance will tally because it is not taken on both the sides. Now we need to record the entry. It's a complete omission. Your trial balance will still tally, so there is nothing called as suspense. However, we need to write an entry for the transaction now. Whenever there is a sales return, what is the entry? Sales returns account debit. Entry will be sales return account debit to Green and Co. That is customer. How much is the amount? The amount is 150. Chalo. Come to the third one. Coming to the third mistake. Goods purchased 250 has been posted to debit of supplier Gupta. Guys, whenever you purchase goods on credit, entry will be purchases account debit to Gupta and Co. So that is trade payable account should be credited. But what they have done, they have debited Gupta and Co. So there are two mistakes. One is not crediting, another is debiting. Your trial balance will not tally on the credit side, not by 250 but by 500. So suspense account credit balance will be 500. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be debited by 500 and that 500 should be credited to Gupta and Co. Why are we crediting Gupta and Co 500? 250 is for actually crediting it, and another 250 is to cancel whatever is by mistake debited. So rectification entry will be suspense account debit to Gupta and Co. How much? 500. Okay, wonderful. Come to the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one, furniture purchased from Maniad Brothers 1000 has been entered in the purchases book. Guys, whenever you purchase a furniture, that is asset. Asset account should be debited, not purchases. But here, instead of debiting the furniture account, they have debited purchases. Let me tell you one thing, your trial balance will still tally because it is just a mistake in the name or the nature of the account rather than debit or credit side. So trial balance will tally. There won't be anything called as suspense. But instead of debiting furniture, they have debited purchases. So we have to cancel purchases by crediting and we need to debit furniture. So the rectification entry will be furniture account debit to purchases. How much is the amount? The amount being 1000. Fifth one. Chalo. Come to the fifth one. Discount received from Radheshyam 15 has been entered in discount column of cash book. Guys, discount received is a credit balance, but when you are taking it in the cash book, you are taking it as discount allowed. Discount received is credit balance, discount allowed is debit balance. So the mistake is discount received they have not taken. So one time credit side 15 will be missing, and one more time you have taken more on the debit side 15. So in trial balance, credit side will be less by 30. That we will put it to suspense. So suspense will have a credit balance of 30. Now that we are trying to rectify, suspense should be debited by 30, and we need to cancel the discount allowed which was debited. So discount allowed should be credited, and actually we need to credit discount received. So for that we are going to credit discount received. So the rectification entry for the fifth one will be suspense account debit 30 to discount allowed that we need to cancel, which was by mistake debited 15, to discount received which you are actually supposed to credit, that is 15. Wonderful. Next, please come to the sixth one, the last one. Discount allowed to G Mohan and Co has not been entered into the discount column of cash book. The account of G Mohan and Co however been correctly posted. Guys, whenever you allow any discount to G Mohan and Co, entry will be discount allowed account debit to G Mohan and Co. So G Mohan account is correctly credited, but which account they have not taken? Discount allowed. Discount allowed debit balance, if it is not taken in the trial balance will not tally on the debit side by how much? 18. We will put that to suspense. So suspense will have a debit balance of 18. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by crediting and discount allowed should be actually debited by 18. So the rectification entry will be discount allowed account debit to suspense account. How much is the amount? Amount is 18. Chalo. Hope everyone have understood this question and hope it was very simple. We have solved around 5 questions, that is rectification after trial balance. Now we will start with questions that are rectification is done in next accounting period. Guys, let us now solve question number 7 from rectification of errors, and we are now changing the concept. We are getting into the last area where the rectification is done in next financial year. Generally in this area students struggle a lot because lot of confusions are being created. You don't worry, it's very simple. I'll teach you a very simple technique so that you can solve all the questions. It is simple that it is same like the second method, that is after trial balance, but here the rectification is done in the next financial year. So wherever there are nominal accounts, something like purchases, sale returns, purchase returns, all this, you have to use the word P&L adjustment account. It is that simple. Everything else remains same. Okay, let us get started. Narendra was unable to agree the trial balance last year. Means the mistakes are not identified in the last year. Mistakes are identified in this year. And wrote off the difference to P&L next year, that is this year. He appointed a chartered accountant who examined the books and find the following. Okay, let us try to rectify. What is the first mistake? Purchase of scooter was debited to conveyance. When you purchase a scooter being an asset, scooter account should be debited. But which account they have debited? Conveyance. Very simple. But there is no impact on suspense. Suspense account will not be there because trial balance will be tallying. So scooter account should be debited and conveyance account should be credited. But we are not going to use the word conveyance. We are going to use the word P&L adjustment. But guys, be careful. For this study material, they have directly given an answer. But for the first one, I am going to split the answer into two. Then I am going to write the combined entry. Let us understand what we wanted to do. Okay. First, what has to be debited? Actually, scooter account. And what should be cancelled? Conveyance. That is now P&L adjustment. So entry will be scooter account debit. How much? 3000. To conveyance you have to write, but in place of conveyance we are going to write P&L adjustment account. P&L adjustment account. How much? 3000. Guys, one more thing, we are not done with the rectification because there is something that is depreciation given. Now that you have debited the scooter, should you provide depreciation on that? Yes. What is the entry for depreciation? Depreciation account debit to scooter. But are we going to use the word depreciation? No, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So it is very simple. This is the first part of the rectification. This is second part of the rectification. Entry will be P&L adjustment account debit to scooter account. So how much is that? 300. Okay. We have passed two entries, but what study material has done is they have combined both the entries, and they have written the net entry. What should be the net entry? Net entry, scooter here is debited by 3000, here credited by 300. It should be net of scooter account shall be debited by 2700. Next, P&L adjustment credited here by 3000, debited there by 300. To P&L adjustment net will be 2700. Hope you have understood the simple case. Okay, let us come to the second one. What is the second one? Purchase account was overcashed by 10,000. Purchases is taken more. Means debit side it is taken more. Trial balance will not tally. Trial balance credit side will be less by 10,000, which we will put to suspense. Suspense is having a credit balance of 10,000. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by debiting and purchases has to be reduced. So purchases has to be credited. But are we going to use the word purchases? No, we are going to use P&L adjustment. So the rectification entry for the second one will be suspense account debit to P&L adjustment account. How much will it be? 10,000. 10,000. Wonderful. Please come to the third one. Coming to the third one, a credit purchase of goods. A credit purchase of goods from P for 2000 was entered as sale. It's very simple. When you purchase goods from P, you should have written an entry purchases account debit to P. But what have you done? You have treated that as sale. Means you have written it as P account debit to sales. So let us understand in detail. P account should have been credited, but whereas P account is debited. Instead of crediting P account to 2000, they have debited P account 2000. So can I say P account will be more on the debit side by 4000? We need to cancel that now. So P account should be credited by 4000. Sir, why 4000? One is to actually credit 2000, another is to cancel the debit of 2000 which is by mistake done. So totally P account should be credited by 4000. Okay. And we know purchases account should be debited because it's a purchase of 2000. Purchase should be debited by 2000 and sales also should be debited because earlier we have credited the sales by mistake. We need to cancel that now. So rectification entry will be purchase account debit 2000, sale account debit 2000 to P account. But are we going to use the word purchase and sale? No, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So the rectification entry will be, in place of purchase and sale, both we are going to use P&L adjustment. So entry will be P&L adjustment account debit 4000 to Mr. P account. How much? 4000. Wonderful. Let's get into the fourth one. Chalo. Receipt of cash from Mr. A was posted to the account of Mr. B. Here there is nothing called as suspense because there is only a mistake in the name. When you receive cash from Mr. A, entry will be cash to Mr. A. but they have written it as cash to Mr. B. Simple, instead of crediting A account, they have credited B account. So B account should be cancelled and A account should be credited. Nothing called as suspense, nothing called as P&L adjustment. So entry will be Mr. B account debit to Mr. A account. How much is the amount? Amount is 1000 rupees. Wonderful. Chalo. Let's get into the fifth one. What is the fifth one? Receipt of cash from Mr. C was posted to the debit of his account. Guys, here there are two mistakes. What are those two mistakes? Receipt of cash from Mr. C. Entry will be cash account debit to Mr. C account. But instead of crediting C account, they have debited. So there are two mistakes. One is not crediting, another is debiting. So in the trial balance on the credit side, it will be less, not by 500 but by 1000. Okay. So on the credit side, we will put it to suspense. So suspense will have a credit balance of not 500 but 1000. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by debiting. So suspense account should be debited by 1000. And C account should be credited not by 500 but by 1000. Sir, why 1000? Because 500 to actually credit and another 500 is to cancel what is by mistake debited. So rectification entry will be suspense should be cancelled by debiting it. Suspense account debit 1000 to Mr. C account 500 or 1000. 1000. One is to cancel, another is to actually credit. Wonderful. Please come to the sixth one. What is the sixth one? 500 due by Mr. Q was omitted to be taken to the trial balance. 500 due by Mr. Q means you have to receive. It's a receivable for you, which is debit balance. In trial balance, Q account you have not taken on the debit side. So can I say trial balance will not tally on the debit side? How much? 500. Now that it was not tallying, on the debit side we will put it as suspense. So suspense account debit balance will be 500. Very simple. Now that we need to increase the Q balance, Q account has to be debited and suspense account has to be cancelled by crediting. So the rectification entry will be Mr. Q account debit to suspense account. How much is it? 500. Wonderful. We have only another two things. We'll quickly do them. Then we are done with this question. Sale of goods to Mr. R for 2000 was omitted to be recorded. Guys, once again I will assume here it is a complete omission. Sale of goods to whom? Mr. R. 2000. Very simple. When you make a credit sale, what is the entry? No suspense, nothing. Here we are going to use the words. We are going to use the words in place of sale. We are going to use the word P&L adjustment. What is the entry for sale? Mr. R account debit to sale. But I am not going to use the word R. I'm not going to use the word sales. I'm going to use the word P&L adjustment. Okay, let us understand that. What is the entry when you make sales to R? Mr. R account debit to sales, but I'm not going to write sales. I'm going to write P&L adjustment account. How much is the amount? 2000. Wonderful. Guys, since it was a complete omission, trial balance will still be tallying. There won't be anything called as suspense. Okay guys, let us discuss the eighth one. What is the eighth one? An amount of 2395 of purchase was wrongly posted as 2593. Can I say in purchases, instead of taking 2395, they have taken 2593. So can I say purchases is taken more? By how much? By 198 purchases is taken more. When you take purchases to be more, can I say trial balance will not tally? Yes, since debit side is taken more, credit side will be missing by 198, which we will put it to suspense. So suspense will be having a credit balance of 198. Now that we are cancelling, suspense account should be debited and purchases has to be reduced. So purchases has to be credited, but we are not going to use the word purchases. We are going to use P&L adjustment. So the rectification entry I will write here itself. Eighth one will be suspense has to be debited. So suspense account debit to purchases we have to write, but we are going to write to P&L adjustment account. How much? 198. 198. Now let us get started with the eighth question. Once again, this question is from rectification which is done in next financial year. As we have discussed, students won't be comfortable in this area. We are trying to solve more and more questions. Okay, try to understand. Mr. A closed his books of accounts for 2021 in spite of a difference. So they have closed their books of accounts. The difference of 830 suspense, the credits being short, it was carried forward in suspense account. In 2022 they are finding these errors. Can I say these errors are found in next financial year? So wherever there are any nominal accounts, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment account, isn't it? Yes. Chalo, see the first one. A sale of 2300 to Mr. Lala was posted to credit of Mr. Mala. See guys, whenever you make any sale to Lala on credit, entry will be Mr. Lala account debit to sales. Lala account should have been debited, whereas what they have done is they have credited Mala account. So there is a mistake. One is that on the debit side, Lala account 2300 is not taken, and again it is taken in Mala account on the credit side. So debit side will be missing not by 2300 but by 4600, because once you have not taken on the debit, another time you have taken more on credits. So debit side, what will be the missing amount is 4600, that we will put it to suspense. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled, and actually we need to debit Lala account. So we are going to debit Lala account, and we need to cancel Mala account which was by mistake credited, now by debiting it. So the rectification entry will be Lala account debit 2300, Mala account debit 2300, and suspense should be cancelled to suspense account. How much will be suspense account? 4600. Okay, this is the first one. Next, coming to the second one, the total of return inwards. Guys, return inwards is nothing but sales returns. Total of return inwards book 1240 was not posted to the ledger. The moment it is not posted to the ledger, it will not go to trial balance. So return inwards, that is sales returns being debit balance, is not taken. So trial balance will not tally on the debit side by how much? 1240. So we will put it to suspense. Suspense will have a debit balance of 1240. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be cancelled by crediting, and we need to debit a return inwards. But guys, we are not going to use the word return inwards, so we are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So what will be the entry? Actually the entry was return inwards account debit to suspense, but we are going to write P&L adjustment, because in place of return inwards we are going to use the word P&L adjustment account debit to suspense account. How much? 1240. Okay, wonderful. Please come to the third one. Third one is freight paid on the machine. Whenever you pay any expenses on the machine account should be debited by 5600, but it was posted to freight account, and that too the amount is also wrong. So this case is little complicated. Forget about depreciation, we will see that later. Machine account should have been debited by 5600. They have debited that to wrong account called as freight account. Then the amount is also wrong. Instead of 5600 they have taken 6500. Can I say 900 is taken more on the debit side? Trial balance will not tally. Debit side is more. 900 will be the suspense account on the credit side. Suspense will have a credit balance of 900. Now that we are rectifying it, we are going to debit. And which account are we supposed to debit? Machinery account. Machine account we have to debit by 5600. That we are going to debit now. And whatever is by mistake debited, that is freight account by 6500, we are going to cancel that. But we are not going to use the word freight account, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So the rectification entry will be suspense should be cancelled 900. Machinery account should be debited 5600, and freight account which was by mistake debited should be cancelled by crediting, but we are not going to use the word freight, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment account. How much will be P&L adjustment account? 6500. Wonderful. But guys, wait, before we get into the next one, should we provide depreciation on this machinery? Yes. How much? 10%. How much is 5600 into 10%, 560. When you provide depreciation, entry will be depreciation to machinery, but we are not going to use the word depreciation, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So in this second entry, in the third one will be P&L adjustment, because in place of depreciation we are using the word P&L adjustment. How much? 560 to machinery. How much? 560. Wonderful. Next, please come to the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one, while carrying forward the total in purchase to the next page, 65,590 was written instead of 56,950. Guys, amount has been taken more in purchases. How much more is taken? Instead of taking 56,950, they have taken 65,590. So how much have they taken more? Sir, they have taken more of 8,640. 8,640 they have taken more in purchases. Trial balance will obviously not tally. Debit side is more. So on credit side, how much amount will be missing is 8,640. So suspense will have a credit balance of 8,640. Now that we are rectifying that, suspense account should be cancelled by debiting it by 8,640, and purchases has to be reduced. So purchases has to be credited. In order to reduce the purchases, we credit. Purchases should be credited by 8,640, but we are not going to use the word purchases. We are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So the entry will be suspense account debit 8,640 to purchases we should have written, but we are not going to credit purchases. We are going to use P&L adjustment account 8,640. Wonderful. Let us get into the last one so that we are done with this question. A sale of machine on credit to Mehta for 9,000 was not entered in the books at all. It means it's a complete omission. There is no suspense, nothing, because on the debit side it is not taken, on credit side it is not taken. The book value of the machinery is 6,750. As very simple, whenever you sell any machine for profit on credit, you will not be getting any cash. So his account will be debited. Whose account will be debited? Mehta account will be debited. So Mehta account debit. For how much are you selling? For how much you are selling is 9,000. 9,000. But how much is the value of the asset? That has to be cancelled. What is the value of the asset? 6,750. So to machinery will be 6,750, and balance whatever amount, that is 2,250 is there, that should be credited to profit on sale. But profit on sale is a nominal account. We are going to use the word to P&L adjustment. To P&L adjustment account 2,000. How much is P&L adjustment account? It should be 2,250. Hope everyone have understood this question. It is very simple, guys. There is nothing much in this question. Okay. Guys, now let us discuss question number 9 from rectification of errors. Once again, this question is from rectification in the next financial year. That means the errors are identified in the next period. That means errors are not found in the same year in which they are done. They are identified in the next year. As you know, simple logic, wherever nominal accounts are involved in the rectification, we are supposed to use P&L adjustment. Okay, let us come to the first one. The total of purchases book of one page, which is 4,539, is taken to the next page as 4,593. Very simple, guys. How much purchase is taken more? How much purchase is taken more is 54. 54, since purchases on the debit side is taken more. Trial balance will not tally. Debit side is more. So suspense will have a credit balance. Credit side 54 is missing. So suspense will have a credit balance of 54. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be debited by 54 and purchase has to be reduced. In order to reduce the purchases, purchase has to be credited by 54. But we are not going to use the words purchases. We are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So the first rectification entry will be suspense account debit 54 to P&L adjustment account. How much is it? 54. Wonderful. Come to the second one. The second one is a most confusing part for many of the students. What is that, sir? A sale of 573 was entered in the sales book as 753. Can I say sales is taken more? Okay, let us understand one by one. Credit side, it is taken more. By how much is it taken more? Instead of taking 573, you have taken 753. Matlab, you have taken 180 more. Okay. And whenever you generally make a credit sale, customer account should be debited. But what they have done, they have credited. So once again, they have taken credit side more by 753. And one more thing is that debit side, they have not debited the customer account at all by 573. So by that amount, credit side will be more 573. This much is more on credit side. So it will be more on credit side by 1506. When it is more on credit side, trial balance will not tally. On the debit side, 1506 will be missing and we will put it in suspense. So suspense is having a debit balance of 1506. Now that we are rectifying the error, suspense should be credited. Okay, credit side of the rectification is sorted. Then what about debit? Simple. In debit, since we made a credit sale, debit side, since we made a credit sale, customer account should be debited by 573 actually, and we need to cancel what is by mistake credited. But that is how much? 753. So total will be 573 plus 753, 1326 should be debited to customer account. And can I say sales is taken more by 180? In order to reduce that sales should be debited. Sales should be debited by how much? 180. So the rectification entry will be customer account debit 1326, and sales account we need to debit, but we are not going to use the word sales. We are going to use the word P&L adjustment account debit 180, and suspense is having a debit balance that we need to cancel now, that is 1506. Hope this very important part where majority of the students are confused, hope you are clear with this. Okay, come to the third one. Coming to the third one, we are done with first and second one. Please come to the third one. A return to a creditor. Sir, return to a creditor means purchase returns. 510 was entered in return inwards. Guys, return inwards is a sales returns. Instead of recording it as purchase returns, you have recorded it as sales returns. So the mistake is that, however, the creditor account is correctly posted. So there is only one side error. Very simple. Purchase return, that you should have recorded on the credit side, you have recorded on the debit side. Guys, can I say you have taken sales return by mistake on the debit side, so debit side is more. And again, you have not taken purchase returns on the credit side, so once again debit side will be more by 510. So total debit side is more by 510 plus 510, 1020. So debit side is more, so suspense will have a credit balance. Because credit side is missing, suspense is having credit balance. In order to now cancel that, suspense should be debited. Suspense account debit 1020. And can I say purchase returns should be credited? Actually yes. And the sales returns, that is return inwards, which was by mistake debited, we need to cancel. So on the credit side, what all should be coming is purchase returns and return inwards, that is sales returns, should be coming on credit side. But we are not going to use these words. We are going to use the words to P&L adjustment account. How much will be to P&L adjustment? 1020. Okay, please come to the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one, cash received from C-Das 620 was posted to the debit of G-Das. Sir, when you receive cash from C-Das, entry should be cash account debit to C-Das, but it was written as G-Das, and that too they have not written on the credit side, they have written on the debit side. So there are two mistakes. One is that not taking on the credit 620, another is taking more on debit, that is 620. So the total mistake is 1240. 1240 debit side will be more. Why debit side will be more, sir? Because you have taken once on the debit and you have not taken once on the credit. So total debit side will be more by 1240. Now we need to rectify that. So since total debit side was more by 1240, suspense will have a credit balance of 1240. Okay, now that we are rectifying, suspense account should be debited. Suspense account should be debited by 1240, and we need to actually credit C Das account to C Das account 620, and we need to cancel G Das account which was by mistake debited, that is 620. Hope you have understood this. Okay, coming to the fifth one. What is that fifth one? Goods worth of 840 were dispatched to the customer before the close of the year. Means you made a sale to the customer but no invoice. Guys, generally accounting will be done on the basis of invoicing. Since no invoicing is done, they have not passed any entry. I will assume that it's a complete omission. They made a sale to a customer but they have not recorded. So assuming that it is a credit sale, goods worth 840, can we write an entry? Yes, very simple. What is the entry? Entry will be customer account debit to sales, but we are not going to use the word sales, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment account. How much is the amount? Amount is 840, amount being 840. Now the last one is a different thing that we have not done till now, that is goods worth 1000 were sent on sale or return basis. Whenever goods are sent on approval or return basis, some time will be given to the customer, and within that time if they don't accept, we will take an action. Here 1000 were sent on approval basis and you have recorded that as sales. When you gave it an approval, you assume that they will accept, and you have written it as sales. So you have written an entry customer account debit or debtors account debit to sales, but at the close of the year customer still had the option to return the goods, means customer has not yet accepted. So can I say whatever entry you passed assuming that they will accept should be returned now? Yes. At the time of sale, what will be the entry? Entry will be customer account debit or debtors account debit to sale. Now entry will be sales account debit to debtors. Okay, now entry will be sales account debit to customer. But wait, I will make some changes to this. How much is the amount, sir? Amount will be 1000. But what I would like to do is, sales will have two things, sir. Generally sales will have two things. One is inventory, another is profit. Okay, I would like to split that sales into inventory and profit. So in place of sales, let us write two things. What are those two things? Inventory account debit, and we have to write profit, but in place of profit, since we are doing in the next accounting period, we are going to use P&L adjustment account debit. Okay, sir. Now how much should be the amount? How much is profit, sir? Sir, the profit is given as 25% on cost, but this is a sale value. 1000 is a total sale value. What is the profit? 25% on cost. So can I say cost is 100, profit is 25, total is 125 is a sale value. Since this is a sale value, we cannot directly apply 25% on this. On 1000, we need to apply 25 by 125, which will be equal to 200. Okay, so the profit element will be 200 and the inventory element will be 800. So this becomes a rectification entry for the last one. Hope this tricky question everyone have understood. Okay guys, now let us solve one last question from rectification of errors. This question I am solving from all the concepts, means there is no particular concept. We are going to do all the concepts. This is one master question which can make you understand the difference between each of the concepts. This question was newly added in the study material and we can expect this question anytime soon in the exam. Okay, the following errors are committed by the accountant, and the 4 errors they have given, sir, and we need to solve this question assuming that if the errors are detected before trial balance, if the errors are detected after trial balance, and if the errors are detected after preparing final accounts. So in each of the case, okay, first let us do the first case. First case is what? That is, if they are detected before trial balance. Before trial balance, if the errors are detected, what are we supposed to do? We will see. What is the first one? First one, purchase account has been overcashed by 5000. When the purchases are taken more, Sir, it is not, trial balance is not yet prepared, so there won't be anything called as suspense. Purchases is taken more. Now we need to adjust the purchases. Since ledgers are still open because you have not closed them and prepared trial balance, go rectify your purchases. It's a one side error. It is not possible to write any entry, no entry, because purchases has to be reduced because it is taken over cash. Purchases will be credited. What will you debit? No suspense, no P&L adjustment, so no entry is possible. You will decrease purchases by 5,000. That's all. Only statement can be written. It is not possible to write a journal entry. As we know, before trial balance, in order to rectify the errors, sometimes it is possible to write the entry, sometimes it is not possible to write the entry. Okay, come to the second one. Second one also looks similar. Sales account is overcashed by 7,000. Sales is taken more. No impact on trial balance because we have not yet prepared trial balance. We are still before trial balance. So sales is taken more by 7,000. Now sales should be decreased. So sales have to be debited. There is no credit that we can write. There is no corresponding account. So we cannot pass a journal entry for the second one as well. No entry can be passed because we are before trial balance. Just that decrease sales by how much amount? 7,000. Hope you have understood. Okay, let us come to the next one. Credit sale of 400 to Trivedi and Co was posted to credit office account. Very simple. When you make a credit sale to Trivedi and Co, his account should be debited. But what have you done? You have credited his account. So can I say mistake is only in his account? There is no suspense, nothing, because we have not yet prepared a trial balance. His account should have been debited by 400, whereas it is credited. Now can I say on debit side it is not taken and it is again taken on credit side? So can I say now Trivedi and Co account has to be increased? No entry is possible. Once again, Trivedi and Co account shall be debited by or increased by how much? 400 plus 400. How much is amount? 800. Okay, come to the last one. What happened? Purchase of 420 from Mantri and Co. When you purchase goods from Mantri and Co, what is the entry? Purchases account debit to Mantri and Co. But what they have written? They have written it as sales. Means can I say they would have written Mantri and Co account debit to sales. Okay, let us see what they should have done and what they have done. They should have written purchases account debit to Mantri and Co. How much they should have written? They should have written 420. This is correct entry. And what is the wrong entry that they have written? Mantri and Co account debit to sales. Okay, how much? 240 they have written instead of 420. Okay, guys. So let us see if we can pass any entry here, because Mantri and Co account should have been credited. It is debited. Shall we pass a correct entry now? Okay, correct entry now shall be Mantri and Co account should be credited by how much? 420 is to actually credit, and 240 we need to cancel, so it should be 640. Mantri and Co should be credited. And whose account has to be debited? Whose account has to be debited is sales should be cancelled. Sales should be debited by 240 because you have by mistake credited here. Next, purchases should be actually debited. So purchases account should be debited by 420. So this becomes the correct entry when the rectification is done before trial balance. Hope you have understood this case. Okay. This is a first case, that is before trial balance. How do you rectify the errors? Now let us do one thing. Same errors, how are we going to rectify? If it is after trial balance, we will see. Okay. Second case, after preparation of trial balance. Okay. Let us see the first case. What is the first case? Purchases has been overcashed. Guys, now whatever mistake you have done, it's already gone to suspense. At this stage, that is after trial balance, every time it should be possible to write an entry, because whatever mistake you did is already sitting in a suspense account. Purchases is taken more. Can I say debit side is taken more? So credit side will be missing. How much will be missing on credit side? 5,000. We will put it to suspense. Suspense account will be credited by how much? 5,000. Now that we are rectifying, suspense should be debited, and purchases, since we have taken more, we need to reduce. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit to purchases. How much? 5,000 and 5,000. Okay, wonderful. Please come to the second one. What is the second one? Sales is overcashed by 7,000. Guys, very simple. Credit side is taken more. So debit side 7,000 will be missing. We will put that to suspense. So suspense is having a debit balance of 7,000. That should be cancelled by crediting. And in order to reduce the sales has to be debited. So the rectification entry will be sales account debit 7,000 to suspense account. How much? 7,000. Okay. Now let us discuss the third one in case, that is credit sale of 400 was posted to credit office account. Sir, when you make a credit sale to Trivedi, his account should have been debited, but whereas you have credited his account, so there is an impact on suspense. You have not taken once on debit 400 and again you have taken on credit, so debit side will be less, not by 400 but by 800. Debit side will be less. We will put that to suspense. So suspense is having a debit balance of 800. We will credit that now because we are rectifying it. So suspense will be credited. However, Trivedi and Co account should be debited by how much? 800. One is to debit, another is to cancel whatever was by mistake credited. So the entry will be Trivedi and Co account debit to suspense account. How much it should be? It should be 800. Okay, sorry, 800. Chalo, let's come to the fourth one. Coming to the fourth one, it was actually a purchase from Mantri and Co, but it was treated as sales. But let me tell you one thing, there is no impact on suspense because purchases was considered as sales. Errors is done on both the sides. There is no balance in suspense. So the rectification entry will be what they should have written when you purchase. They should have written purchases account debit to Mantri and Co. They should have written 420. But what they have written? Mantri and Co account debit to sales. How much they've written? 240 instead of 420. This is wrong entry. Shall we write the rectified entry now? Very simple. There is no suspense even if it is after trial balance. The rectified entry will be Mantri and Co should be credited by 420. They have not credited. We are going to credit now. Mantri and Co should be credited not by 420. We should also cancel this 240. So it should be 660. It should be credited by 660. Okay, 660. And which account? Guys, here also it should be, I'm sorry, it should be 640. It should be 660. Okay, no problem. Now monthly account should be credited. Which account should be debited? Sales should be cancelled, that is by mistake debited, that is 240, and purchases also should be cancelled by 420. Okay, this is a rectification entry for the fourth case when the errors are identified after trial balance. Now let us discuss the last case when the errors are identified after preparation of final accounts. Guys, very simple. Whenever you are rectifying the errors after preparation of financial statements, we need to do one thing. Wherever nominal account is involved, we are supposed to use the word P&L adjustment. So I'm not going to discuss everything again. Here, what was the entry? Suspense to purchase. But since this is after trial balance, we wrote two purchases. But if it is after financial statements are prepared, in place of purchase, I have to use P&L adjustment. So the rectification entry will be suspense account debit to P&L adjustment account. How much will be the amount? Amount will be 5,000. Next, second case. Second case is also very simple. Wherever sales is there, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment. So it will be P&L adjustment account debit to suspense. How much? 7,000. And in third case also it will be same. What was the entry in third case? Entry in third case is Trivedi and Co to Suspense. Since there is no nominal account involved, entry will be the same in the last stage as well. It will be Trivedi and Co account debits to Suspense. How much? 800. Chalo. Let's see the last case. What is the last case? Last case is okay. Monthly and Co same. Here whatever entry you wrote. Here whatever entry you wrote. Same thing will be the entry. But in place of sales and purchase, we are going to use the word P&L adjustment account debit 660 to Suspense. Suspense is it? I'm sorry, it's not Suspense, it is to Monthly and Co. It should be 660. This question was done just to make you understand the difference between when the rectification is done at each of the stages. So guys, hopefully with the help of these 10 questions, everyone's concepts from rectification of errors are revised. That was the main intention of this video. Please keep your preparations going. Do not get deviated because of any reasons. And one more thing, apart from these 10 questions, if you are not able to solve any question and you want answer of that, please do mention in the comment box so that I will solve the question and post the video which can help everyone. Keep your preparations on. Do not get deviated for any of the reasons because exam is nearing. We just have around 1 month of time for the exam. From now also, if you can study well, you can still do it. Chalo, all the very best for your preparations. Always remember one thing, there is time for everything and everything will happen at its time.